Hello, the doc is in, and welcome back to another chapter of Tokyo Revengers, chapter 276, Get Over. In the last chapter, Takemichi goes 1v1 with the Dark Impulse Curse. Still don't know how I feel about that, but he goes 1v1, right? Dark Impulse Curse pulls out the katana and basically stabs the fuck out of Takemichi. But Takemichi's still able to get through to Mikey. But it's too late at this point, and he can't go back to the future, and so Takemichi seemingly bleeds out and dies in Mikey's arms. And the chapter starts off with us back at that exact moment. Takemichi's down, there's literally a sword straight through his chest. Mikey's back in his regular mind, he's crying, he's like, I didn't want this to happen, I want you to wake up, whatever, right? He was like, I've been trying to avoid exactly this situation, everybody's just watching and sad and stuff. And obviously for with the context of the fact that he was being controlled by a curse or whatever, which kind of interesting that everybody just believes them so easily. But nonetheless, with this happening, everybody's kind of it's such a tragic situation. Obviously, a lot of them, especially people from Tomen, have been touched by the kindness of Takemichi. So to see him die in an instance like this is very heartbreaking. And so as Mikey's calling out for Takemichi to wake up, he cries on his hand, and then snap, lightning bolt, and we're back in the past with first grader Takemichi. Very interesting, very interesting. Discuss this in the discussion portion, but for sake of the review, just play by play. He wakes up and he's basically confused. Obviously, he's like, shoot, I died, but actually no, I didn't. And also, why am I in my old bedroom? Why is it 1998? And he realizes, I'm back in first grade, etc. I didn't die. It seems like I went back in time. But he's like, oh, maybe it's like a flashback before death, because obviously he'd already gone back in time once. To go back in time twice isn't really something that was known ahead of time. So he's kind of going back and forth for what could be going on, but he's like, well, seeing as I time traveled before, if I am in the past, then this would be a good time for me to figure out what's going on. So he leaves his house, right, and he runs off and he goes to Mikey's house. He gets there, he tries to ring the doorbell, and the first person he sees is Baji, young Baji. I also forget if Baji, Mikey, and all of them are older than him. I think they are older than him by a year or something. But anyway, Baji shows up and basically he's like, why are you in front of Mikey's house? I'm gonna kick your ass. And so he then proceeds to start kicking Takemichi's ass. But then Emma shows up, young Emma. She shows up and she's like, hey, stop beating up other people in front of other people's houses. And so obviously, Takemichi, he's just in shock because these people have been dead for a hot grip. So he's like, shoot, Emma, Baji. And then we see Shinichiro, all right? He shows up and he's like, oh, you've been doing too much, Baji, first thing in the morning. And so then Shinichiro's like, hey, Sanzu, you know this kid? And then Sanzu's like, hey, I don't know who that kid is either. Where Mikey at? And so then Shinichiro calls for Mikey to show up, and obviously they're all trying to figure out who this kid is, because at this point none of them have met. I assume this is prior to him supposed to be getting the time leaping powers, which is interesting. There's definitely probably going to be something going on with that. But Shinichiro and all of them, they're like, who is this guy? And so they're looking for, and also I guess this time for school, so they're looking for Mikey just in general. And so then they're asking him who are you? And he's like, shoot, I guess none of them know me yet. And so then Mikey shows up, and so he asks, who's this kid? And so then we have the moment, Takemichi starts crying. He's like, Mikey-kun. And I totally forgotten at this time. When I read this chapter the first time, I was like, oh, you wouldn't know, no one would know who he is, so how is he going to go about influencing the past? But actually, because the trigger was Mikey again, Mikey's the only one who remembers what happened in the future. Probably all the futures, or something along those lines, right? So he knows who this is. Therefore, he's like Takemichi, and so now something's gonna happen. Now, what, I'm not quite sure. They're gonna do something, but that is the end of the chapter, right? End of chapter, no break next week. Cool. Where we're gonna go from here is interesting. What likely is going to happen at this point, now we've gone all the way back to the past, what is likely going to happen is that whatever things are going to be done now are going to lead to what should be everybody living in the future. Whether there's going to need to be a sacrifice for that, I don't know. Also, now we know there's a curse that, you know, that things could get interesting with that as well. Now, given we're so far back in the past that this is likely before the curse is actually put into play. Likely, I think it is, because Shinichiro doesn't even know who Takemichi is, and the curse was distributed only a little bit after the Timeleap powers were passed on to Takemichi a little bit after the curse was given. So there's a good possibility that you're gonna get like the super happy ending. Everybody lives, everybody has a nice time because they're able to fix everything from the very root. Possibly. There may be a sacrifice that needs to be had here. That is also possible. Maybe Takemichi has to die, or maybe Takemichi can't know anybody, none of his friends, and like he has to go back to the future and all he has is Hina and that's it. Who knows? It really could go a number of directions. Maybe this just all comes back around to, you know, Takemichi just becomes a better person, and you know, that meeting with Hina that happened like in the first time he went back to the future and everything was fixed. This time, you know, he's able to do everything, and because, you know, the gang life is like separated from all of them and everything's good now, you know, whatever. Yeah, like I said, there's a number of ways this could go, but I think what is gonna happen is that they're gonna make some type of decision. Maybe probably something involving Mikey, whether that be trying to keep him from getting injured in the first place, or maybe something to do with the curse. Maybe something has to be done with the curse. Who knows? Maybe giving away the time leaping powers from the very beginning. Maybe Takemichi opts to just stay in the past and just live his entire life out. Who knows? But I'm thinking something's gonna happen, and then when we go back to the future for one last time, everything's going to be fixed. Like, everybody's gonna be alive. Maybe Mikey's still still the leader of his gang. Maybe he's not anymore. Maybe he's the leader of the Black Dragons, because the Black Dragons were supposed to be left for Mikey. I mean, like I said, there's a number of directions this could go. But I think we're just going to go through the happiest ending possible. So everybody who's dead but not supposed to be dead is going to come back to life. Everybody who's bad, who's maybe supposed to be a better person, possibly, it can be a better person, whatever. I think that's the direction we're going in. Or this is going to go like totally weird, and basically we're gonna find out, oh, you can't change anything, everything has to be the bad way. I doubt it, but I feel like that is a possibility. But that's pretty much it for this chapter. If you like this video, leave a like. If you dislike this video, leave a dislike. Free for leave a comment, or what do you think is going to be the direction of the story? I'm thinking it's gonna be the happy ending. Leave a comment below if you think it's gonna be the happy ending as well. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see more videos like these on the rest of the last few chapters of Tokyo Revengers, along with other series that I cover on the rest of the channel. Feel free to just check them out, you know, got my little library, whatever. Ring for the notification bell, all that stuff. Thank you for watching the video all the way through once again, and the doc is out. Peace.